performance-based assessment is a type of assessment that requires students to perform a task using skills learned in class. It differs from traditional standardized and multiple-choice tests, in which students normally answer questions about how to do those skills. A performance-based assessment allows learners to demonstrate their learning authentically and provides reliable information about their content knowledge. This type of assessment is ideal for ELL students with limited English proficiency because, to some extent, any ELL can demonstrate his or her knowledge using the performance-based approach. The language barrier does not exclude them from being able to demonstrate their understanding. The main difference between traditional and performance-based assessments is that traditional assessments ask students questions about how to do what they've learned. In contrast, performance-based assessments ask students to actually do what they've learned. For example, let's say that students have been learning about the scientific method in science class. A traditional assessment might be a paper-based multiple-choice test that asks students to select the best answer for each question. In theory, it would measure how well students understand how to do what they've learned. Instead, what if you asked students to do a science experiment using the scientific method, forming a hypothesis, and then conducting the steps to test it? Since this type of assessment would require little reading or writing, ELL students would be more likely to demonstrate their understanding of the process. Let's take a look at some examples of performance-based assessments that teachers can use to assess ELL students in the content area classroom. Let's start with some performance-based assessments teachers can use in language arts. For example, after reading a story in class, students could write a letter to a friend to summarize the story, write a letter from one character to another in the story, or assume the role of one of the characters and write a series of journal entries to describe the character's thoughts and feelings. Teachers can also use performance-based assessments in math. For instance, to demonstrate an understanding of probability, students can work in small groups or individually. 2. Test their predictions about the outcome of flipping a quarter several times to see what side it will land on. Make a scatter plot to display data, or create their own acronyms to remember mathematical procedures. Moving on to science, students could create a mobile of the solar system, design a habitat for life on Mars using information about the planet's characteristics, or test their hypotheses about what makes ice melt the fastest. Finally, in social studies, students could build a diorama of an important event from history, interview a parent or other adult about their experience during a period in history, and then report their findings to the class, or research a historical figure and write an illustrated biography of that person with a partner. Performance-based assessments ask students to complete a task that's related to their learning. They're suitable for ELL students because they emphasize physical, hands-on demonstration of knowledge rather than requiring students to be English proficient. Performance-based assessments differ from traditional assessments that ask students questions about how to do what they've learned. There are many ways to assess ELL student understanding by using performance-based assessments in language arts, math, science, and social studies.